In the news this week, insurgents react to Nigerian military receiving a $1 billion upgrade. Nigerian workers jubilate as officers begin distribution of Christmas rice and oil. "57 years later, Britain expresses regret over breakup with Nigeria.
But you say if you don't get money, I your way.
And now, it's the other news.
And here's your host, Okay Bakassi.
Thank you and welcome to another exciting episode of The Other News. We have so much fun wrapped in this half-hour package that you might as well consider today's show an early Christmas present. Yes, you're welcome. Speaking of presents, we'll be looking at the life of President Buhari, who recently celebrated his 75th birthday. Correspondent Binta Bhadmus is back with a report on sports, and we'll talk about the $1 billion question that Nigerians have been asking over the last few days. My guest today is the multi-talented comedian and director Charles Inoje in the building. Yeah. But first, it's the other news headlines. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar promised to create more jobs as he launched his new restaurant named The Chicken Cottage. So the PDP's Atiku has a chicken cottage, the APC's Buhari has a cattle ranch. All we need now is another aspirant who has a herd of goats. Then we can forget about the elections in 2019 and have a barbecue party. Yeah. Okay. We all know elections are about chopping. So by opening a restaurant, maybe Atiku is sending a message to some people. Well, still on Chop I Chop politics, All Progressives Congress chieftain Bola Tinubu says the APC has a stainless kitchen that can accommodate many cooks. Yes, the kitchen has to be stainless because a lot of these crooks have dirty pasts. Cooks. Yeah. Emir of Kano has called for Nigerian leaders to be subjected to drug and psychological tests. I agree with the Emir. Reacting to the call, some prominent leaders said, no problem, as long as we can send representatives to take the test for us. Niger. Ever since Davido sang about having 30 billion naira in his account and started his 30 billion gang, a group of entertainers have been scheming to outshine him. And so last week, they made their intentions known.
The governors have given permission to the federal government to spend the sum of $1 billion in the fight of insurgency.
Yes, $1 billion, alias 365 billion naira. 365 billion gang. Move over, Davido. This one pass you, Joe. So, what does the federal government need this money for exactly?
The amounts will include, but not be limited to, purchase of equipment, procuring intelligence, logistics, and all what is required.
So they need to procure intelligence. They need to buy technical equipment to fight an enemy that has been technically defeated? Me, I'm getting technically suspicious. And I'm not the only one.
Is this withdrawal of $1 billion not an attempt to use such for the 2019 election?
Yes, Governor Fayose, yes. The timing of this transaction is very suspicious. But didn't your party, the PDP, do something similar when it was in government? No wonder the PDP was quick to question the format. At least this time we are taking the money from our excess crude account instead of borrowing it. Actually, they will still borrow to finance the budget, just that not that part of the budget. Anyway, so Nigerians are asking many questions. What is the emergency that requires $1 billion? What about the money that was specifically budgeted for the counter-insurgency operations in the budget? And is someone with experience advising the government on how to disburse this money? Someone like, yeah. Well, the government was so eager to allay the fears of the public that it sent in the big guns to explain. This military big gun brought some military big guns with him, not technically, but literally.
Look at this weapon. It's a special weapon. I will not go beyond that. Look at the AK-47. They are miles apart. Their prices are never the same.
See, in the past, a soldier entering a TV station with weapons would have been a sign of a coup. But relax. These days, a soldier entering a TV station with guns is just a sign that the army is expecting a heavy credit alert. Major General Eneche approached the interview with a comprehensive and very effective military strategy. He evaded, he distracted, he overwhelmed the audience with information that was not relevant to the questions asked.
If you look at the exchange rate of the naira to the dollar, you agree with me, it ranges between 350, 51, 52, or thereabout, even at the international rate if you want to purchase anything.
But wait, why is the army talking about the black market exchange rate? Should this transaction not be governed by the CBN rate? Are they planning to take the $1 billion in cash to the black market traders to get as much naira as they can? Sound familiar? And why are they talking about converting the money to naira? Is this secret gun made in Oka? Are you saying that all the soldiers fighting Boko Haram will have this secret new gun once the $1 billion is disbursed? Nigerians will be watching from a very safe and far distance to make sure that this money is used to improve the condition of our brave men and women in uniform who are fighting and risking life and limb so that the rest of us can safely enjoy our Christmas. We should spare a thought for these heroes and their families. And the least we can do is to make sure that the government does right by them. To our gallant soldiers on the front line, we salute your courage and sacrifice. Have a Merry Christmas. My guest today is the star of the popular sitcom The Johnsons. He's also a director and writer for stage and screen. Please give a round of applause as I welcome the very talented Charles Inogie. Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Comedy, playing roles in comedy movies, you're quoted to have said that it makes it difficult for people to take you seriously. I know that is the challenge that most comedians face. I've been there myself. So can we just tell us a bit about how this thing has shaped who you have become?
You always would have to do like double.
Yeah.
To make people look at your direction with some measure of seriousness.
Yeah.
Each time you try to engage in an intellectual discourse, Abi, is he reading from a script?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Are you sure he's the one?
Are you sure he's the one talking? Not be that man where they do mumu for him.
Film. Is serious like this?
I was MC at an event in Port Harcourt, and the chairman of the occasion, it was a wedding. I could notice from where I stood that she was not comfortable. She kept looking at my directions, talking to herself, muttering to herself, whispering to people sitting beside her. Chairman, I hope there's no problem. He said, no, you look so much like one man that does foolish things on TV.
Charlie, go on to that. We'll be back. Yeah, we'll pause now to see whatever is in our cups. But my conversation with Charles Inogie continues in just a moment when the other news returns. the other news, and we are still having a very illuminating chat with Charles Inoji. Charlie, don't you think, as a comedy writer, as a script writer and a comedy actor, don't you think that we've succeeded in making Nigerians joke so much that they are beginning to, forget about some of the serious issues that we should be tackling?
No. In fact, my answer to that would be an emphatic no. On the contrary, I think comedians deserve a lot of commendation for how well they've been able to reduce what could have led to widespread depression,
increase in suicide rate, free for all, madness and all that. I think the comedian is a lot more serious than the so-called serious actor, because he takes something very serious, makes it very light, and pricks your conscience by so doing. It takes you home. People say they want to go to the cinema to watch comedies because they don't want something that will make them think. A good comedy film should make you think them more. Exactly, yeah.
Yes. Comedians are social crusaders. They should be able to pick on key national issues and make them lighthearted.
Is there politics in you?
A lot of it. There's more politics in me than anything else.
Good.
That is why I believe...
I mean, shake hand.
God bless you. I believe that,
I like that
we must... anybody that truly loves this country must work towards changing the narrative as far as 2019 is concerned. Yeah. I do not want to call names. Only last week here, somebody called me and said you were recommended highly. We are putting up a campaign organization, Articulate Atiku, and I said, can we just hold it here so that let me talk? He said, no, let me explain how the organization. I said, you cannot begin to tell me the constitution of the organization when you don't know if I'm interested in the organization. So let me just talk for 1 minute. And I told him, sorry, sir, let me tell you that Atiku, in my opinion, is a great Nigerian, has done his bit for this country. I don't have anything against him. I do not have anything against our president, Muhammadu Buhari. I think he's one of the greatest Nigerians that ever lived. He's one of the aside him and Baba Obasanjo, no one else has had the opportunity of ruling the country twice. And I think that's just it. We should not stretch destiny beyond that point. So I told him that I think it is time that young men in this country, because when you read and see things that Nigerians in their thousands are doing,
accomplishing all over the world,
within and outside this country, you begin to wonder, how then are we reduced to just these two choices for 2019?
Yes. Why are we not talking about any other choice, Charlie?
Yes.
It's troubling.
I would rather support, campaign for, and vote for a younger candidate that will probably run for and lose the election and go home very satisfied than still queuing up behind these men that have done so much for this country already. We must allow for a different line of thought.
Charles, it's been nice. It's been so nice talking to you. It's refreshing. I know you will bring it on. What do you have for our people this Christmas? Christmas is around the year now. What do you have to say to our people?
At the moment, anything you do without moderation becomes a problem. I think people, even when you have to drink this Christmas, you should do it with moderation. If you have to eat with moderation. If you have to engage in any kind of social activities, because if you overdo, there's always a result for overdo. Yes, overdo no good.
Overpay. Thank you so very much, Charles. It's been nice talking to you. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause again for Charles. Thank you. All right. To other matters now. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari turned 75 years old over the weekend. Meanwhile, Nigeria has been an independent country for just 57 years. We have a leader who is older than the country. That is why each time Nigeria sees Buhari, Nigeria prostrates and says, Baba, good morning, oh. President Buhari's birthday this year was a colorful affair with friends, aides, and family. His grandchildren gave him a nice little card. But the grown-ups decided that as a big man, Buhari needs a big birthday card. How will these cards fit on his office desk? No wonder rats are always invading his office. There's always a lot of fancy papers to eat. Buhari comes from a humble beginning. He was born in 1942 to a Fulani family in Daura in northern Nigeria. Buhari was number 23 and still was not the last born. No. By the time Nigeria gained independence in 1960, Buhari was almost 18 years old and considering a career in the military. 6 years later, he was a junior army officer helping overthrow the Ironsi regime in Nigeria's second military takeover. When it comes to Buhari and political power, it was love at first coup. Well, fast forward to 1975, Muhammad Buhari was plotting and executing another coup to overthrow Yakubu Gowon and install his old pal, Murtala Mohammed. By 1983, Buhari was tired of being supporting coup striker. He was ready for the big time, so he overthrew the civilian government of Shehu Shagari. As a military leader, Buhari was so harsh that Fela had to give him a shout-out in one of his most famous songs. No be outside Buhari day night. Anyway, I can't sing. If you can sing the lyrics, if you sabi, I beg you, help me, I have forgotten. After coming to power, General Buhari gathered a bunch of politicians, accused them of corruption, and gave them free accommodation in some government buildings, alias prison. A few years later, Buhari was himself overthrown by his old friend IBB, who released the politicians. Buhari was detained for a while, and the politicians sent him a message. Of course, a lot of time has passed, and Muhammad Buhari claims he's now a Democrat. But some things about his civilian government are reminiscent of his time as a dictator. Things like economic hardship and a controversial fight against corruption. Whether in Kaki or in Agbada, Buhari versus corruption has always been like McGregor versus Mayweather. It appears Buhari always starts with gra-gra in the early rounds, while corruption will just be waiting like Mayweather to give him a serious blow later. You know, chop this left hook with wound confirm magu. Take this right punch, grass cutter scandal. Oh yeah, receive this body blow, Ikoyi dollar scandal. Take this uppercut, Mena Gates. Wow. But hate him or love him, we can all agree that Buhari is an example of how resilient Nigerians can be. He has survived an assassination attempt and at least 2 major health scares. President Buhari has been an unsuccessful presidential candidate on 3 occasions and only succeeded at his 4th attempt. People who have failed JAMB several times can relate to how hard it is to try and try again. Buhari has had to make some tough choices to get what he wants. For example, wearing clothes he does not like and forming alliances with old rivals. Nigerians can learn perseverance, ambition, and compromise from this old man we call our president. Happy birthday, Mr. President. We hope that you use the opportunity of your 75th birthday to reflect on your life and do better so that even Nigerians will smile and wish you well on your next birthday. Still to come on the other news, our very observant correspondent Binta Bhadmus sets her binoculars on our Minister for Sports. Yeah, in case you're interested in knowing what the Minister of Sports has been up to, we are now ready for our very observant correspondent, Binta Bhadmus.
Nigerians love their sport so much. So much so that they've turned their stadia into convention grounds and concert venues. In fact, so many Nigerians go to the stadia not to do exercises and get six-packs, but to drink, eat pepper soup and asun, and then grow pot bellies. Perhaps, in order to address this anomaly and put someone with the professional, political, and even spiritual background to address the problems in sports, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Barrister Solomon Dalong as the Honorable Sports Minister. Now, Mr. Solomon Dalong is a trained lawyer who has served in the prison. And maybe the president felt he needed someone who can soothe the many problems bedeviling our sports and also imprison the poor performance of Team Nigeria. So, President Buhari gave us Mr. Solomon Dalong. Now, interestingly, Solomon Dalong hasn't had it easy in office. From the controversy surrounding the NFF leadership to the poor performance of Team Nigeria at the Olympics, and then even how Dream Team 3 was stranded in training camp in the US. People began to question whether the minister should be substituted or not. But trust Minister Dalong, he mounted a huge defense for his actions.
The funds spent were properly spent.
Minister, that skillful dribble caught the attention of Nigerians who made the instant reply viral. So, the minister was saved another day in office while the public was distracted by the laughter. Now, following the success of the Super Falcons at the African Women Championship last year, the minister was asked, why has the ministry not made provisions to reward these ladies? The honest Minister Dalong gave this response.
And don't forget that nobody indeed knew the team was even going to emerge victorious.
Chai, we have actually spent so much time preparing to fail that we actually forgot we can win. So, what's the ministry doing to support the Nigerian bobsled team, which recently made history as the first African team to qualify for the bobsled event in the Winter Olympics? Honorable Minister, please, let us start expecting them to win. Thank God, we have qualified for the Russia 2018 World Cup, even though the Federation almost put us in trouble. But then again, something happened after the Argentina match.
And Argentina is one of the highly ranked football association in Nigeria.
The minister almost caused a diplomatic row between Nigeria and the land of Lionel Messi. Imagine reducing a whole country to an ordinary football association. There are still issues within Nigerian sports. And at a recent event, Minister Dalong was asked to state his achievements. He stunned his audience by saying there's no single week that the Ministry of Sport doesn't have a harvest of medals and trophies. Where are the medals, you may ask? Let me explain. It seems the Honorable Minister has found a fertile piece of land behind the Sports Ministry, where he plants the few medals we have and harvests them every week, as per weekly harvestings. But the minister still has the opportunity to pick up the pace. And one way he can do that is to give our sportsmen and women the support they need so that they can start winning the medals and he can stop harvesting them.
Thanks, Binta, for being very, very observant. And that's our show. We hope we brought some light and laughter to your day. Follow the other news on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and, of course, the gram. Our handle is The Other News CTV. If you want to be part of our live audience, call the numbers on your screen. You know, I can't wait to see you. Our people say that the best way to learn how to plant trees is to plant trees. Get out there and achieve your dreams, my people. My name is OK, and have a Merry Christmas. I'll see you next week.